Aloha, this is Brian Watkins, and I'm providing this video as an example to be used for my Speed Trial 3. So you should have opened the Speed Trial 3 starting point file, which you'll recall has macros that sort everything by the worst accounts or the best accounts, or they go back to normal. We have a spin that's set up, and we have a number of pre-defined variables here. Okay, specifically the red amounts, red days, green amounts, green days, an effective date. Okay, and we have a lookup table, so we can go over to the lookup table and see that we can look up states. We have the requirements where you can cut and paste some of the sentences that we're going to use. Okay, our pivot table, our data all cleaned up. Alright, so let's knock this test out. First thing we're going to do is place a cell to the top right that's going to allow you to select customers whose information is displayed from an alphabeticalized list. Okay, so the data validation cell is quite simple, but the trick is we have to feed it data in the order that we want the drop down to show. So I'm taking the last name first. I'm going to copy it to my lookup table screen. Let's just drop it here. I can't do it like that. I have to do it as values. There we go. And now I'm going to go to data, A to Z. Now it's sorted. Okay, now with it sorted, I can come back to my M2 and I can say let's do a data validation. So data validation with a list, and the source of the list is of course all of my alphabetized names. And we're not going to worry about an input message or error alert because this is your workstation and you're the one that's tying it together with everybody. So let's make it a little bigger. Say 14. Let's put a little bit of a color in the back, maybe just a light gray, so that we know there's something special there. And make sure that even a big name can show. Okay. All right, now to tie it together, we need a macro. Nothing happens on a worksheet without some input, unless you tie it to one of Excel's program events. When Excel does something internally, you can look for that and you can turn it into a macro. So we go to Developer, Visual Basic, okay, and not the module. These are things that we would have to invoke. We're going to go to sheet number 1, double click until it comes up. Okay, now we're looking at the spin button control, but we want to look at the worksheet. And we want to look at not a selection change, that's when you move the green thing around. We want any change. Okay, so any change to our worksheet is going to be sensed and it's going to be checked out. So we don't want it to do anything unless we know that it's in the right range. So we're going to watch for target address to be equal to M2. Okay, if we are looking at that, then we want to take our spinner, spin value, okay, and we want to use that value to match it. Remember, our names, if you look at over here, let's take a look. Kimmy Haydad is not down in the H's, she's number 1. So we have to use a match that looks at our actual order list, not alphabetical. And since it's a worksheet function and not a VBA function, we type worksheet function match. Okay, 3 arguments. We know what they are. The first one is, what are we matching? Whatever's in the target's text property. Okay, and what are we matching it to? Well, we're going to match it to the range of last name first. Okay, and then 0. All right. We want to take our window now and scroll it to the row that is just a few from the point where we froze pane. So we're going to take the spinner value, whatever it is, and add 3 to it. Okay, and if. All right, so we're looking for a change in M2. Then we're going to take the spinner value and we're going to set it equal to whatever number our target is in the last name first range. So here we go. Let's see if it works. Make a change. Boom. And great. So now we have the ability to change, and it's popping up down here. And you'll notice that the top row, 123, is our customer number row plus 3. So that's what we were doing with that. So if I want to take somebody there, record 177, add 3 to it, it's going to put 180 at the top. So that's how that's working. And look at that, we actually found somebody that we couldn't show. So we'll stretch that out just a bit for her. All right, that's number 1. All right, now do task 3. Find an icon, put it below your effective date. You can go to the internet for this. And we're going to use VBA to inquire of the user and then replace the effective date for aging and receivables. Okay, now this is important because your entire report, go to the top here, depends on that date to determine how many days old it is. Okay, so to replace that, we want to make sure that we get a good date and we don't feed something in that's not going to be workable in Excel. All right, so let's go write a macro. This is going to be in our module because it's just a regular macro. And we're going to call it effective date. Okay, and we're going to have a report date. And we're going to have accept date. Okay, and we're going to use those two variables inside 2 loops. Okay, so I'm going to create 2 loops. The first loop I'm going to say, give me a good report date. Okay, we're going to use input box. And we're going to say, enter the effective date for aging the receivables. And then we'll put a line return. Okay, I'm going to space underscore return as VBA's way of staying on the same line but wrapping it in your text editor. So the second line of my input box is going to say use month, day, year format. And the title of my box is accounts receivable aging. Okay, now in the box I'm going to use a default. You can see defaults written right there. So I'm going to take the date, current date, subtract 1 day from it. And I want it to be in month, day, year format. Alright, and I think that closes everything. No, it didn't close everything. I need another parenthesis. There we go. Okay, now I've collected a date or something that the user put in. So the first thing I'm going to do is check whether it's good. So the isDate function is true when the variable it contains is a date. Okay, so if it's not a date, then message box my user and say, please enter a valid date. Okay, but we're going to use a special prompt. Okay, we're going to use the VB critical. Okay, so that will stop everything until we hit OK. All right, now that's our first loop. So the first loop goes until isDate is true. Okay, so once we've got the user entering something that works as a date, then we take that date and we make it an actual date, cDate. So we're going to change the data to report to a date. Okay, and we're going to use that same month, day, year format. So report date is now a date. So now I show it back to my user. So I'm going to have a message box that says you entered space double quote space and space double quote, or sorry, report date, now double quote, as the effective date for the aging report, question mark, comma. I'm going to do space underscore return. And now my second argument is my buttons. I'm going to do VB yes no buttons. And my title is going to be accounts receivable aging. Not again, aging. There we go. All right. So now we're going to loop until accept date equals VB yes. And once we do that, we actually have a good date. So we go out into range A22 and we change it to report date. And that's that. And this kind of a subroutine will be wonderful for you to use out in the real world when you're collecting things that are complicated, like passwords or phone numbers or special kinds of addresses. Okay, so let's see if this works. We're going to go out here and we're going to insert a picture that we get off the internet. And let's use calendar icon there. Nice and big. I'm going to shrink it if I can. Let's see, shrink. Bring it up again. Shrink. Okay, and now I link my effective date to it. And let's see if it works. I have 2 end subs, don't I? I do that a lot. Okay, we want 1 end sub. When the yellow comes up, hit reset. Okay. Enter the effective data for aging the receivables. We don't want to say data. So if I said no way, it'll come back and say give me a valid date. Okay, so I'll repent and I'll say 9/30/2016. Okay. Yep. And it changed it to 9/30/2016. Oh, it won't let me cancel. Well, we'll worry about that another time. So 9/15/2016. And we've got it. All right. If I right click, I can move that. It's off center. It was bugging me. All right. That's our effective date. That's our task number 4. Next, we want the user to always know what the assumptions are. The assumptions specifically being, let's take a look here, the red, the green, the credit limit, the effective date. We want a box that kind of hovers and tells us what's going on there. So we're going to use a user form. User forms are independent boxes. They kind of hover over everything else, and you can make them do all kinds of neat things. So we're going to insert the user form, and we're going to make sure that while we're working on this, we have a properties window. These things have lots of properties, and you have to be careful as you use them to know what name, what property you're actually working with. Okay, so let's do our user form here, we're going to put in text boxes because we just want to display text. So here's text box 1. You can see text box 1 there. Now I'm going to click out of that. I'm going to click on it again, and I'm going to do text box 2. Okay, click on it. This needs a surprising amount of practice, I found, because it's hard to keep these things working the same way. Okay, there's 3. And four. Okay. Now it looks like I'm going to click out of my boxes, and I'm going to click my user form open just a bit. Okay, so there's my user form and my 4 text boxes. Alright, so to control my user form, I have to have a macro. I have to have code to tell it what to do. So what I'm going to do is just go into my modules, okay, down to the bottom, and I'm going to say sub show text box. Okay, now in the text box, I'm telling it what to do now. So I'm saying user form 1. First, I'm going to show it where to go. So the top of user form 1 should show up in my application top plus 25, and my left side application left. I'll try 1,000. See what it says. Plus 1,000. Okay. Now I'm going to take user form 1, text box 1, and I'm going to make the font equal to blue. BB blue. Bunch of different ways to do color in VBA, but the simplest is to just use some basic colors. VB. Alright, we're going to make user form 1, text box 1, font bold equal to true. So we have bold font. Then we're going to go into text box 1, into text box 1's actual text, and we're going to say equals effective date for aging, and we're going to put the range effective. Okay, so that'll be the date for the aging. Now we're going to go to text box 2 for color. It will be red, and text box 2 font bold equals true, and I see that I did get box up there. Okay. And user form 1 text box 2 text is going to equal red status, and the number of days, red days, and let's do a line return here. Okay, space, underscore, enter, and I can say and balance greater than. Okay, now here, where I'm going to get a balance greater than something, I'm going to need to use the format command. So I'm going to say balance greater than, and I'm going to take that red amount and tell it to show up in $ hash, comma, hash, hash, 0, double quote. Okay, so no decimals on that. Okay, so that's red status. Now I'm going to take text box 3 And I'm going to say green status. Range. Green days. Value. And days delinquent. Or space underscore, start with the and. Format, range, got ahead of myself. Or, quote, balance less than space, space and space, format range, green amount, value, double quote, dollar sign, hashtag, comma, hashtag, hashtag, 0, double quotes. And delinquent. Oh, need a double quote right there. Okay. And we'll go to the last one. We'll just make this bold. Keep it in black. And this one's going to say credit limit. Okay, so credit limit is going to be space and format. Same format as before. Now, most important thing that you do is tell Excel that user form 1 will show up in modeless form, which basically means you can still operate on the underlying spreadsheet. If you want, you can have the user form show up and lock everything else up so that they can only use your user form and the answers show up. So that might come in handy someday. And finally, where do I put the selection when the macro's done? I'll just stick it on range A10. How's that? Okay, now there's my in sub. So let's give it a shot and let's see what show text box does. So I'm here. I want to see what's going on. I have macros, show text box, run. Okay, so it's right here in the middle and it's staying on one line. I'll bet you that's because in our user form, we have to come down here and tell the user form that our startup position is going to be manual. That ought to do it. Okay, and then we have to go into our text box and we have to say we're going to have multi-line true. So I'm going to have to go into text box 1, 2, 3, we'll get there. 3 is true. And 4, multi-line true. Okay, so let's see what happens now. Show text box. It went off to the side where we wanted it to. It has multiple lines. Perfect. And if we wanted to rename user form 1, which might be a good idea, so let's come back to our properties, user form 1, and we'll name it, actually what are we looking for? We're looking for caption. The caption of user form 1 will be the aging report variables. Okay, I think that does it. All right. Now that we have our text box defined, we have to tell Excel when to display it. So every time somebody makes a change, we want to make sure that our text box changes along with it. So we're going to use a worksheet change, and when we open the workbook the first time, we want it to operate then as well. So we're not going to put a new macro in Module 1. Instead, we're going to go into this workbook. We're going to look for the open event, which comes up automatically, and we're going to say, as soon as open happens, call show text box. Okay? And then we're going to look for let's see, if we change anything here. Okay, and what we're going to look for is if target. See, I'm using the workbook change because the change can only happen on customer master list, but we want it to show. So target address equals range, and we're going to go through each one. So red days, address, or space underline return. Target address equals range, red amount, address, or, okay, now I'm just going to copy this. So hit enter and then copy, and I'm going to change it to green days or green amount or effective date or credit limit. If any of those things happen, put it then right there. Then call show text box. And that's it. Okay, so what that means is if we change red days to 250, we better use an end if. Okay, so if we change to 250, it pops up, it says 250 days and greater than 2,000. Perfect. All right, so let's put this back down to what it was, and 230. I think it was 230. What are my requirements? 235 is my red, so I'm going to go back. And you see how we changed the sheet, but it's still hovering there? So if we go, change that to 235, and it updates right away. Great. So that's the trial 4, I think. Okay, now for the big one. We're going to open a new worksheet. We're going to name it Status Letter, and we're going to prepare a business letter, not in the default font, that is clean enough to print and send to a customer. And I've given you all the requirements. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new sheet here. We'll rename it Status Letter. And we're going to go up and we're going to make sure that our view is the page layout view. Okay, this is what we're going to work in. We're going to take our first A through G, make them 12 wide. Okay, it doesn't like that because I'm in page break. So do that out here in regular normal font. That way when you hit column width, it's points, not inches. Okay, so now I'm going to go into page layout, and you can see that my goal is to put G as far over as I can so that it centers. And we're going to take the first 3 lines and merge them and center them for our business address. Okay, we're going to take the entire page. Let's be careful here. Let's go up from the bottom. And this page is going to be font of your choice. I'm going to use Garamond. And I'm going to make my type a 12. Okay. So now I have Nationwide Books Inc. 123 Main Street, Y 96762. And it's bold. Actually, it's first one. Alright, now let's look at the requirements. Not that one. I want these requirements. Okay. Make the letter fit this video. How's that? I didn't type exactly what I want you to do, but let's do it this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to have our inside day. So use today and reformat the date to be appropriate for a letter. Might have to widen it a bit, but if you do, just shorten up the other one so that you bring that back to center. We want it up against our margin. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inside address. So we're going to have the name of our person. We're going to have the address show up. And we're going to have city, state, zip. So index, city, spin value, and concatenate a comma space, and then index state, spin value, concatenate a space, and then index zip, spin value. Okay, pause it if you want to look at that, but that will go right there. Okay, and then we're going to have the opening salutation. So we're going to say capital Dear, space, concatenate with a left extraction from the name that goes one less than the place where you find, let's see, within text. Yep, so I'm going to close the find command, -1, close the left command, and concatenate a colon after that. Okay, so if you want to look at that one. Alright, once we've got our letter this far described, we know where the body's going to be, so we're going to open a big paragraph. Leave a couple lines at the bottom. So this is going to be merge, wrap, left, and top aligned. Okay, now, to make this process as easy as you can, you need to know, just look at your requirements, and we're going to start at the top, and we're going to work down, and we're going to make the variables that we're going to use in our formulas available to us so that we save a lot of complicated formula typing. Okay? So, one way to do this is to start by getting your requirements open and just kind of reading down the list. Okay, so I'm going to open them here. I'm holding them. And as I go down, I see effective date. Okay, we know that effective is there. But let's just put it here so that we see it. Okay, it can't hurt to see it. So we're going to say long date, and that's just going to be there so that we can see what's going on. All right. It should just display. I'm going to merge a few cells so that it doesn't back us up. All right, now I'm going down the line. I'm going to put my stuff down here. So city, state, store. So we're going to need the name of the city and state where the store is. Okay, so I'll put store. Okay, and off here to the side, I'm going to put formula text. You don't have to do this on your test, but I'm just going to put that there so you can see what I'm typing once I move on. Okay, so store is going to be the city, and you're going to concatenate that with a comma blank. So concatenate with double quote, comma space, and then you're going to have to figure out the state. So the state is a VLOOKUP of your two-state abbreviation. And the table array, I already named it. It's already there waiting for you. It's called state names. The answer is going to be in the second column. It's going to be an exact match operation. So we'll hit false. So now I can just say store, and it'll say Fort Wayne, Indiana. And that will change as we work through. In fact, it would be a little easy for us if we want to kind of test what's going on. If we went and used some VBA and put a a spin button in our status letter. Okay, so we're going to put a spin button in the status letter. Developer. Okay, so go to status letter, and we're going to insert insert an ActiveX control spin button. I'm going to put it right down here. Okay, and view code. Well, I'm in the status letter worksheet. Spin button 1 and spin down. Okay, my down arrow is going to say if worksheets customer master list range spin value. Remember, spin value lives on a different worksheet, so you have to use the larger address now. Is greater than or equal to 196 is the number of records we have. Okay, so this clears it up for us. So now I'm going to take this whole thing here and copy it. Okay, so if we're okay, worksheet's value is going to be the same reference and plus, let's see, we're spinning up or down. We're spinning down right now, so we want to add one. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing for a spin up. And now that we have it, we can just type it faster. So if paste the name is not equal to 1, then remember we don't want it to go change if it's on the last row. Then we'll take the worksheet value and subtract 1 from it. Remember, I have to do an end if here. Up here, the if then was all on the same line, so it doesn't need an end if. Down here, that line is number 2. So let's go back to our spin button, turn off design mode, and now we can shift through our records while we're working, and that'll help us kind of see what's happening. Alright, so let's go back to requirements and keep reading. We've got a store. Okay. Our records show that you currently owe full amount, so owed. And the amount owed is going to be the AR balance. We don't want to type the AR balance over and over and over again, so we'll do that. Okay, the oldest charge on the amount was for an amount. So here we're going to have an old date. That's the oldest date that there was a problem. So old date would be, let's go, then we're going to have the oldest, the second oldest, and the third oldest. Okay. And these will tell us what's going on with it's our variable. So old date. Old date is going to be a lookup. So we're going to do VLOOKUP, index, last name first, comma, spin value. Okay, that's our key. We're looking in something called the oldest. That was our pivot table. Second column, and it's going to be an exact lookup. Okay, and we're going to want to make this work for us. So we're going to say make it text. Okay, and we're going to get the month out. Close the text, and then stick on it the ordinal of the day number from the same VLOOKUP. So you just type the same VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, index, last name first, spin value, oldest to false. And that closes the lookup. That closes the day. That closes the ordinal. Looks like we need a space in there too. So we'll say MMMM with a space. So February 19th. There's our old date. Wonderful. Now, we're going to have a little bit of a problem getting old 1, 2, and 3 because our pivot table only has a key on the oldest. So we're going to solve that problem by putting a consecutive number in a column to one side. Okay, so now it's 1, 2, remember 1 and VLOOKUP has to be our key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be a consecutive enumeration of each line. So I have to now go into my name manager and to my oldest. Okay, and I'm going to make it now F4290. I'm just changing from an E to an F. Done. Alright, so back to status letter. Okay, the oldest date, that's the easy one to find. That's just going to be the VLOOKUP with our index being the last name first. And our table's the oldest table. Column 2 Actually, the amount is in 3. False. So there's our oldest amount due. Okay, now, if we do a second VLOOKUP here, okay, VLOOKUP on last name first, spin value in oldest, but this time we look for column number 4, actually 5, I think. Let's try 5. We get the number of the first one. Now, obviously, if Kimmy Haydad, that's going to be a 1. But think about it. If we go down here, say Hazel, her first one shows up on 134. That way we can use in old 2, all we do is say index of the oldest array, and our row number is that number plus 1. And our column is, let's see, 4, 5. Nope. 5 is the number. 4. There we go. And if we do the same thing, index of the oldest, and the row number, it would be this plus 2 this time, and in the 4th column. Okay, so if we go look for Hazel Portela, she's going to have 10, 26, 24. (10, 26, 24). Perfect. So that's what this number is doing for you. It's allowing you to find those oldest 3. So let's go back and take a look here. We now need to know, have they been a customer for more than 5 years? So I'm going to do a formula for customer 5, and customer 5 is just going to be whether or not our, let's see, the year today, 2017, minus the index of, let's see what we called it, first year they did business. In value. So if I say all of this number is greater than 5, so Hazel is true, she's been more than 5 years. Oh, Shonda has not. And Kimmy has. Good. So we have customer 5. All right, so now we go back to our I can actually put it here to show you what I'm doing. So customer more than 5 years, number of years as customer. Okay, so I say customer years, and we really just wrote this one. So this is the year of today minus index first year spin value. And I don't know why I put a second paragraph. And let's center it. Okay, so Kimmy's 8. See, and Vanessa has not been more than 5 years. She's at 5. Glennie. Okay, so that's our customer years. Now we go back. Date next Friday. Okay, so for the date next Friday, remember that I gave you a next Friday formula. Okay, so effective plus this. So let's type that in. I'll move these over. So our date next Friday. So I'll call it next Fri. And next Fri is going to be text, the effective date, plus 7 minus weekday, effective plus 1, close the effective, or close weekday, close 7. We want the month, a space, And then we're going to put the same thing into the ordinal to get the day. And we want the day out of effective plus 7 minus weekday effective. It's the same thing. I'm just putting it in again. But this time I don't have to format it. So I close weekday. I have an extra in there I don't need. So if I take this out, so now I've closed weekday, close ordinal. Okay, so text effective day. Okay, I'm going to check it. Okay, dumb mistake. Right here before the and needed a parenthesis. So now next Friday is September 16th. Remember, we set the effective date to September 15th of 2016. So if we want to work on these right now, it won't hurt us to change our effective day to today. So 1/28/2017. So now, if I look at it, February 3rd is my next. So February 3rd is next Friday. Good. All right. So now we go back from next Friday, and we read, and we see next Friday. Okay, now we need the greater of the sum of the 3 oldest sales or the AR balance less red amount. I'm right here, okay? So we will call that the red collection. Okay, and for the red collection, what we're looking for is the larger of something, so I have to use an if statement. So if I take the sum of the oldest 3, and I ask, is that sum greater than my amount or my red amount? So AR balance less red amount. So is it greater than owed minus red amount? Okay, double check. That looks good. If it is greater, we're going to take that sum of I7 through I9. If it's not greater than, we're going to take the amount owed minus the red amount. Okay, so if it's, let's do that. Doesn't like one of my names. Oh, that's because I haven't named this yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go this far and say Control-Shift F3 from the left. And now you saw that roll into position there. Okay, so now we know what the red collection amount is. Our next one would be whether we're one of 3 states that are going to require, so I'll call it a bad state. And this is simply going to be an OR statement. And we're going to ask if we're in, heavens, what were the 3? The Texas, Idaho, and Tennessee. So state spin value equals Texas Idaho Tennessee. And that's all you have to do, because we want this to be true or false. So as we go, see, Nashville, Tennessee, true. Good. All right, so that's bad state. Now, I'm going to clear that off because I know that you could be looking at my sample while you're watching the video. So hopefully we'll just keep this a little cleaner. Okay, you have until next Monday, 30 days after the date of the letter, to dispute the text. So we're going to have to say Monday, 30 days to finish that red letter. That's going to be a text. So that's a tricky one. But I'll leave this in here so you can see that if there's a problem, it's probably because of a missing parenthesis. All right, Monday 30th. Let's see if I'm ready to write. Okay, so let's just do some things to make it easier to write. We're going to have a double space, which will be a repeated character number 10 2 times. I'm going to have a tab, which would be a repeated space 10 times. I'm going to have a big tab for the Sincerely Yours, which is going to repeat the we're going to repeat a tab 6 times. So big tab, okay, and I have that naming thing. So we named up till the red collection. So now I'm going to name those. Control-Shift F3. And I think we are ready to write our red letter. So let's get writing. Okay, red letter. Equals. Okay. I'm looking again on my... I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this on the test itself too, so you can see it and type it. So, quote, Dear Kimmy, tab, as of space, effective date, which we're going to have to make into a, so we're going to want to say this as of March day, year. So as of January 20th, 2017. Good. Concatenate with space. Okay. Your credit account at our space. Concatenate with store. Concatenate is seriously overdue for payment. Records show that you currently owe space, double quote, and dollarize it. Don't put the dollar inside this area where you've named your variables, because you're going to want to pull these out and operate on them, and dollar changes it into text. So that's a lesson I learned the hard way. So if we owe anything, dollarize it rather than using it that way, so that it comes out right there. See, our records show that you currently owe $715.85. Okay. And concatenate with a period space. The oldest charge on the account was for space and dollar, and we'll call it old one. On concatenate with. Now we're going to do text for the old date, or actually we don't need to use text, so we'll just say old date. On old date, concatenate period. This is an attempt to collect a debt. Any information obtained will be used for that purpose. All right. As of, I should probably put a comma there. So after the date, we're going to have a comma. Credit. We need store. So I could put Fort Wayne, Indiana, and store. There we go. So I just stuck it up there. Is seriously overdue for payment. Our records show that you currently owe $715.85. The oldest charge of the account was for $148.70 on February 19th. This is an attempt to collect a debt. Good. That's what we want for our first paragraph. Wonderful. All right. So we go back. Paragraph 2. So we're going to have a double and a tab. And paragraph 2 is going to be basically on customer 5, if it's true or false. So if you are an old-time customer, then you're going to get, as you have been our customer for, okay, customer years, comma, we would like to work with you to reduce your debt and offer you a 5% cash discount if you call our service desk next Friday. And then I can just say next Friday. Concatenate. At 555-224-6789. All right. And then remember, we're inside an if, so I say comma blank. As you've been our customer for 8 years, we would like to work with you to reduce your debt and offer you a reduce your debt discount if you call our service desk for close of business next Friday, February 3rd. Okay, so far so good. Now, if they aren't long-term customers, we say, to avoid having this account sent to collection, we must receive, space, red collection amount. Let's put it in dollars. At our offices prior to close of business next Friday. Okay, close the if statement. Let's see if we can find someone that's a long-time customer, okay, or that's not, rather. To avoid having this account sent to collection, comma, we must receive prior to close. Okay, that's it. All right, so paragraph 2 is working. Double space, tab, third paragraph. Please be advised that if this account is not collected 6 months, that you may receive You could copy and paste this too. Nationwide. Okay, now we have an if statement. And we're saying if it's a bad state. Oh, did I just lose everything? Oh, gosh. Okay. Just lost everything. And Okay, so I have to go all the way back. Well, let me show you how to do it fast. So I say and, double quote, I go to requirements, I ignore this, I come up to that long third one, and I say copy. Now it's in the, I escape, it's in my clipboard, and I'm going to say double quote, print. Okay, so where was the if? If customer true, false. Okay, so we need we need a double space, we need a tab, we have a double quote. Please be advised. Okay, now I'm going to have an if statement here. If bad state, comma. It's not turning bad state, so if bad state, comma, then give me, I'm going to have to find state name. Okay, so I will say VLOOKUP, and it's index state spin value into the state names seconds exact, and then concatenate that with space. So that would say Tennessee state, then and federal, and you have until Monday 30th, and double quotes, and to dispute the debt. Okay, and then double quote, and close the if. And concatenate there. Oh, that's right. So bad state just became color. Good. Okay. So if we're in Tennessee, it does that. And we need to give it a false condition in case we're not. Oh, we need space before Tennessee. Okay, so I'm going to have to start by putting there we go. Tennessee state and federal law to dispute the debt until okay. So somehow Monday 30th needs to be text okay. Up, the 30 has a little underscore after it. So if I put that little underscore, look how it's color, even though, oh, evil. So put the underscore there. Now I need that space back. Ah, that's good to know. So when you use names that have numbers in them, Excel is going to want to see that underscore. All right, so now we're going to close our letter. So we'll go back. This time we'll say double space and big tab and sincerely yours, comma, and then two doubles and a big tab, and we're going to sign the red one, Nationwide Booksellers Inc. And character 10, one line, and big tab, and legal department. All right, let's see if it did it. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to come down here really low, and we're going to say red period. And red is going to now mean this entire formula. So I'm going to copy it, paste it. That's not what I want to say. Okay, let's do that again. I'm going to, I'll do this way. I'll cut it this time. Cut, paste. Okay. And now we will get started on our yellow letter. So if we look at our yellow letter, come down here to yellow. If the account is either over the red amount or due longer than red days. Okay, so let's call this the red test. Okay, because remember, yellow can be a letter that's over red amount or over red days, or it could be a letter that's not quite red. So you have to figure that out. Okay, so we'll do red test. Okay, and our red test is an or, and we either say or our owed is greater than red amount, or our days overdue are over red days. And that will tell us whether a red test is true. Now we have to figure out an amount for our yellow collection. And the amount to be paid should represent the top 3 sales, unless the top 3 sales would equal more than 50% of the account, in which case you'll only ask for the first 2, unless they would equal more than 50% of the account. Who wrote this? My goodness. So we're going to first have to figure out what's half of our amount. So half of our amount would be our owed divided by 2. That's half of our amount. All right, what's our top 3? Our top 3 are just the sum of those. Whoops, I have to type sum. The sum of the 3 oldest ones. Good. And our top 2 are going to be the sum of our top 2. Gosh, come on. Top 2. There we go. All right. So now that we have that, we can go to figure out the yellow collection. And this one is going to be an interesting one, but you can do it. Okay, so think about it. And here's what the answer is. Okay, if our top 3, now remember that little trick? You have to have that underscore there. Don't forget that. So top 3 is less than half amount. Half amount. Okay, if it's less than half the amount, our answer is top 3. Otherwise, we have to ask, is top 2 less than half amount? In which case, if it is, do top 2. But if it's not less than half amount, just go with the old 1. Okay, so close the if there, and close the whole thing. Okay, now we've got to name some things now. So we're going to have to go Control Shift F3. Come on, Control Shift F3. And it spits it out. So our yellow collection, half of the amount for Vanessa is 569. She owes a lot. Okay, and her top three together were 878, so that couldn't be it. Her top two together were still 868. That couldn't be it. So we're just going to ask for the oldest one. Good. Okay, so that's yellow collection. It's a little tricky, so you have to make sure you understand what's going on. Let's try it real quick with a different number. So if we take Kimmy, for example, okay, her top three, 305, and it's less than the half amount, so the top three would just spit right out. Good. All right, so next we have to say, our records show that you currently owe, okay, we can do that. Number of years of being a customer, we can do that. Customer over 7 years, okay, so over 7, we'll just call it customer 7. And customer 7 is going to be the same formula that we already did. So we'll take that one and spit it out down here and just change that to a 7. Okay, Control Shift F3. That one's named. All right, going back to it says date plus 7 days, date plus 7. Okay, so let's do today plus 7. Today 7, and that's just going to be a text of today plus 7. Spit out the month in a space and concatenate with an ordinal of today plus 7. We don't care what day it shows up on. Okay. Text today, ordinal today plus 7. Today plus 7. Today plus 7. Oh, the ordinal function is dying because the ordinal function only wants the day February 4th. Okay, so a week from today, February 4th. Good. Ah, wonderful. And that looks to be everything we need for our yellow. Okay, so now we're going to prepare our yellow letter. We've done all the thinking. We've sketched out all of our logic. So we're going to do a tab, and we're going to do an if. We're going to ask if a red test is present. If a red test is present, we're going to say as of space, and we're going to take the text of the effective date, give it a full month, days, year, close that, and come back and say your credit account at our space, double quote, and store, double quote, store is space. Okay, so now we're going to look and we're going to decide, let's see, full, what do we call it? Owed. So if the owed amount is greater than the red amount, comma, give us $1 of the owed minus the red amount. Okay. Otherwise, let's see, dollar owed red amount and over your account's spending limit, comma. Now, if it's false, we're going to say the days overdue minus the spend value minus the red days, and we're going to concatenate that with space days delinquent. And then we're going to shut that inside if statement off. Okay, now we're going to take the false, and if you don't see it, you need to pay attention to this while you're doing it. That'll help you from getting lost. So our false sentence is going to be, as of as of effective date, we have determined that your credit account at our store requires a prompt payment to remain in good standing, and would ask that you promptly pay, double check, and dollarize the yellow collection amount that we spent so much time on. Yellow collection. All right. So if we've got that, we can just stick a period on it, close the if statement, and now we want to go and check and make sure that our yellow collection is working right. Okay, so the problem's going to be we need somebody that fails one of the yellow tests. So if we go over here and we take this yellow here, Carolyn, and we put her at 2001, she's still yellow, but she failed the red test. So we come back and we go to Carolyn. Okay, it's $1 over your account spending limit. Good. Okay, so if it's not, Tona here has yellow, and it looks like she's got neither days nor the test. She's just not green. So that was right for her. You're going to need to be very careful about that. So it's $1 over. So what if we went back to Carolyn real quick and put her $1 under, but had her oldest sale become 236. So she's still yellow because she didn't fail both of them, and her test would say 1 day delinquent. Okay. If we had more time, we would change to cents of 1 and say day, but I think we're doing enough already. So let's, before we forget, I'm going to take and copy back the right formulas into that person, and let's finish up our yellow letter. Okay, so next paragraph. So we've got a double and a tab, and we're going to say our records currently okay, so our records show that you currently owe $1 the owed. Okay, you currently owe that much. And that your oldest charge was for, remember that little underscore there, and on what's old dates? Old date. Okay, period. Okay, so once we finish that one, we're going to, whoop, I have to make sure it's concatenate period. Okay, now, and double, and tab, and we appreciate your, okay, cust years. We appreciate your 7 years of being our customer, and thank you for your attention to this account. If you make payment before date plus 7, okay, February 4th, comma, we will extend an immediate, okay, now I have an if, and the if is thrown by 7 years. So if customer 7, then we're going to say 50%, or we're going to say 25%, and let's put spaces in there. Okay, and discount of up to 100 on your next purchase at any of our stores. Okay, and we're done with that. And so let's take and concatenate that with a double, DBL, and a tab. And we have one last sentence here that just says, again, we thank you for your business. Okay, that's the last sentence. So now we do a double, and we do a big tab, and that takes us to sincerely, comma. Now we do 2 doubles, another big tab, and that takes us to the Nationwide Booksellers Inc. Okay, and then we do 1 character return, 1 line return, another big tab, and we sign at the accounts receivable department. Okay, so let's check it out. Hit enter, and that looks good. So we've got it there for yellow, and what we would do at this point is take our entire formula, cut it, and we'll paste it right below red there. There it is, and we'll call that yellow. And then we'll move on to the next part, the green part. The green letter, I believe, is much easier than the other letters. So we'll get ready here. And just type green for when we're done. Over 40. We have to find out how old. So we're going to take the integer of the year fraction of the birthday okay, minus today, I believe. Not minus, just today. Okay, and we're going to say, is that greater than 40? So Kimmy is over 40. Let's see here. And Vanessa's not. Okay, good. So we've got an over 40. Available credits. What would available credit be? So if we look at our red amount, okay, our available amount is going to be whatever the red amount is, 2,000, minus whatever we owe. That's going to be our available amount. Okay? And I think that's it. That's it. So let's get this done. Let's get out of here. All right, so we will tab and open our letter. We appreciate your business and would like to you have $ize available credit. Okay, and we haven't named available yet, but we'll get to it. Available for purchases at any of our stores or our website. Okay, double, tab, and if over 40. If they're over 40, as a reward for your excellent payment history on your next visit to our store or website, bring this letter and we will give you a, if customer 7, it's either, if they're customer 7 over, so it's 50% if it's true, it's 25% if it's false. Okay, and on your next credit purchase of up to $75. Okay, now again, I hope you've learned how to watch these little helpers here, because comma, now I have a false to write. So please find enclosed the sample of our special deals this upcoming month. We hope to see you soon. And close the if statements. And double. And tab. And we thank you for your business. Period. And double. And big tab, and sincerely, and double, and big tab, and National Booksellers, Inc. Oh, sorry, the first one's you. Then character 10, and then National Booksellers, Inc. Okay, and I found I needed another big tab in front of National Booksellers. So there's our green letter. Okay, so we're going to take the green letter now, and we're going to take the whole thing, and we're going to copy, paste. Okay, so now I can get rid of this. All right, so now we're ready to start writing this thing. We probably should name these. Control Shift F3, left column, and I'm going to write red condition, yellow condition, green condition. Now, you'll recall that the red condition is, I'm going up to the top of my test here. So, an account is red if there are sales over. So, we want to look at each one. So if our owed is greater than red amount and our days overdue are greater than red days, that's our red condition. And I've got to close the and. Okay, owed, red, days overdue, comma, spin value. You could tell I want to get out of here. So there we go. No. Owed greater than read about. Index days over. Okay, that's right. Okay, our green condition is an or condition that says owed is less than. Okay, owed is less than green amount. Come on. Or index days overdue, comma, spin value is less than or equal to green days. All right. And your yellow condition, here's a new one for you. And not red condition, comma, not green condition. Nifty. I just wanted to get that not in there for you. Okay, so now that we have, oh, come on. Now that we have those nots, let's do Control Shift F3. Okay, so false, false, true. You've always got to have something. Okay, so everything. Okay, it looks like it's working. Back to the beginning, and here's the final piece. Okay, the final of the whole thing. So if owed is greater than credit limit, then I've got a bad situation. So don't send letter. Do not send letter. Account must be investigated. Okay, but if it is, then you have to ask if red condition. If it is, send red. Otherwise, is it green condition? If it is, send green. But if it's not red, it's not green, it's got to be yellow. So I close the green condition if, I close the other if. Okay. And there we go. Okay, I think that's it. So let's just check our ifs here. If it's true, don't send a letter. If it's false, figure out something. Okay, so if red condition is true, send red. Otherwise, look and see if green. Okay, I think this is it. All right, now, one last thing we're going to do. We're going to take this whole letter and we're going to do a conditional format. This will be easy, I promise. Okay. If red condition, then we want a background of red light red, light. That's our red. Okay. And if it's green condition, we want to see green. So format green and make it lighter. And if it's yellow, I use one L, yellow condition. We want it to be yellow. but lighter. Okay. Now, you'll recall we could do one more rule. Let's do one more rule here. Okay, so we're going to go back to conditional formatting, and we're going to say in that condition where owed is greater than credit limit, I've got a good way to make sure no one can print a letter. Okay, so now let's go to conditional formatting and manage the rules. Stop if true. We're going to take the red one, make it next, stop if true. And we're going to make the green one, make it next, stop if true. Okay. Alright, so now if we go to our master list, we're going to see green, green, yellow, green, black. Let's see what happens here. It's having a hard time adjusting. Okay, so green, 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 yellow, green, black. Nice. Yellow. And we get to a red down here somewhere. So where's our first red? A few more down. Okay. Red, red, red. There's our red. Alright, that's a complete Speed Trial 3. It's a lot of work. Will you please make sure you check the work before you turn it in? Make sure you save your file. So I'm going to save as my Speed Trial 3 starting point. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to call it 386 done, so you can look it up and you could work with it. So as I do this, I will say goodbye. Good luck.